Welcome back, guys. The US government is working on a bill right now that could greatly affect all of the altcoins involved in DeFi, except for Kaspa. We'll explain in details right after issuing this challenge to Steph Crypto and any of the Kaspa bears out there. We say, show us your short trades, as I will show you reloading my bag of Kaspa as of Tuesday, briefly after issuing this warning. 72 hours hold so much sway over the Kaspa chart. And yes, we are leading to the bullish side. That Kaspa was going to have a major defining move this week. We say to you, where were you, Steven, on August 14th? August 14th, shorting altcoins is the date we're waiting for on this channel. We're not claiming to be Nostradamus with these spooky next level callouts. We have a system that uses origin trend lines and x-axis Fibonacci pitches. We're going to get all the new viewers up to speed on what these are while we take the regular crew on a projection past the all-time high coming in the next 45 to 60 days as the candle starts to move forward after reaching that peak. Name's Jesse, professional poker player, mathematician. Congress has been making a new bill which is going to cause every DeFi platform to require KYC. This means all those dApps that you can connect to via MetaMask, Beefy Finance, for example. For those of you who have never heard of DeFi and how to make money on that, this is something that we're interested in getting into later. These are great for hodlers to earn an additional APY on your coins. You are the market makers. So you just put $1,000 worth of Crow, $1,000 worth of AVAX up, and every time somebody swaps that pair, you get a percentage of that action. Great for hodlers who want to really lock in a long-term position. All of these type of dApps are going to require KYC. You're going to need to have a license and authentication to use this anywhere inside of the USA. Now, this is where Kaspa comes into play, because everyone subscribing to this channel already knows Kaspa is primarily an overseas token. We can see they just had all of these deals and team ups with like Change Now, Payment Now, dApps. What these guys are creating is the first layer of platforms so they can start to create more cell phone payment dApps. Those of you guys been checking out the Kaspa newsfeed on their homepage, you've probably been noticing a lot of actions taking place in Africa. The reason being, you can drive for half a day in Africa and not get to a bank or ATM. Commerce as a whole is done 100% via cell phone. And this is extremely common all over Eastern Europe, China, all over the world really, except for the United States. So Americans don't really understand this concept. Everyone who's an investor in Kaspa should realize that the end game for the coin is an app on your cell phone that you can pay for food with at your local 7-Eleven or McDonald's. We can bring up some stats on Google for how big the mobile pay market is overseas. In 2022, it was a $2 trillion market. By 2030, it's looking like a $12 trillion market cap just on mobile pay apps. We were able to predict that a defining move was going to happen on the chart early this week, based on the fact that there's two intersecting origin trend lines. Of course, Kaspa is a chart that hasn't experienced a previous bull run, so finding origin trend lines will be easier on other altcoins, and we have examples of those coming up to help us get a future projection on Kaspa. To bring us back to these origin trend lines on the Kaspa chart, you notice this rising gray trend line right here? When we clone this and move it into this symmetrical triangle that Kaspa was forming back here in April and May, we can notice that the candle respects this trend line very much. Now, as soon as we broke from that symmetrical triangle pattern, there was a very clear downward trend line that we found. We were able to set up our Fibonacci pitch once we had enough peaks formed from this descending trend line, and we got this beautiful x-axis Fibonacci pitch, which helped us find a buy spot for Kaspa right here on July 6th. Now, we didn't buy at that exact dip. We waited for the candle to leave the gravitational pull of this x-axis Fibonacci, and we started buying right here at 24 halfpennies. So bringing that exact technique into this x-axis Fibonacci, Kaspa was falling down and it was trapped inside that trend line's gravitational pull. And we knew while these two were intersecting, one of them was going to have to give out and the more dominant trend line would take control of the candle. And it was all coming down to this week. And guess what? The bullish one took over the candle and it drove it all the way above this trend line right here, which is, as we can see, the top of the candles off the April peak, wicks not included. That's a very significant and bullish trend line to be above. That's at 0.385 halfpennies. Moving into the forward projections for the Kaspa chart, once this handle finishes filling out, we'll then get our breakout. And as we went over in yesterday's video, this could go as high as the bottom of this blue trend line right here, putting us around 85 halfpennies, which was the previous peak that we had tested on this exact trend line back here in April. There's, of course, our lesser peaks all the way down from 8.5. Now, here's the scenario. After we reach our peak, we want to be mindful that eventually, possibly here in December or February, this rising trend line in the gray will eventually give out for Kaspa. Now I'm going to jump you over to Solana where we have the exact same pattern set up so we can get a bit of hindsight and foresight, which we'll be able to use on the Kaspa chart. As we can see, eventually Solana candle lost this trend line in the gold here. It started acting as resistance and then it completely dropped, almost forming a double bottom very low. And then, believe it or not, it went back up and retested that exact trend line 60 days later, only to bounce off it as resistance. We can keep that in mind for Kaspa when eventually the day comes that we do lose this rising trend line. Everybody likes to hear bullish news, and we are extremely bullish on Kaspa, but on this channel we try to stay extremely realistic. Cryptos don't always just go up, and the more insight we can have on this, the more money we can make. Whether your strategy is to DCA, better understanding into the charting we have, the more money we can make. We have an encyclopedia of fundamental style videos on Kaspa, like the ones that can connect it directly to Coinbase through some of their almost secret off-the-book investment entities, to even more of these angled Fibonacci and x-axis trending predictions that will be sure to blow your mind with how accurate you are. Thanks for checking out this video, guys. I'll catch you on the next one.